y'all, Marvin here from Blacktop Banter. Really quick, just wanted to talk about the 800 Pavement Network. As you can see, we have some lettering there, lettering on our other truck over there, lettering on this truck here. They all say 1-800-Blacktop. We've been using the 1-800-Blacktop number here for the last couple of years. It's really been exceptional for us as far as making things click with our branding, and now that we're in another state, those area codes are together. It's worked out fantastically for us. The other thing is that 800 Pavement Network has other advantages. There's group discounts on a lot of the products and materials that we use within our industry. We're part of over 300 different, see that one? Over 300 different contractors that are now using these numbers all over the country. That's combined over $2 billion in gross profits. So if you've been thinking about it or you're curious about it and you're like, well, oh, should I or shouldn't I? DM me, message me, or reach out to 800 Pavement Network. You can find them online through their website. You can call 1-800-Pavement and you'll get them as well. They'd be happy to run you through kind of the advantages and everything else that we've been taking advantage of here at Wiscote and Dubuque Asphalt Maintenance, and how it can benefit you as well. Once again, if you're curious about it at all, you can always DM me. So yeah, 1-800-Blacktop. You can DM me or message me or email me through the podcast or Wiscote or wherever as well. I would love to talk to you about how it has helped us. Hey everybody, welcome back. It's Blacktop Banter. This is episode 88, and we're moving along here through December. As you know, we will be approaching National Pavement Expo, and as you've likely seen by now, we will be hosting the Blacktop Banter kickoff event at National Pavement Expo in Charlotte, North Carolina, near the end of January. So keep your eyes out if you're a listener, keep your ears out if you're a watcher. See how I did that? I caught your attention with those two things. We will have the promo coming out. If you see the promo, you'll know where to go, what time, everything like that. We would love to see you there if you're part of the Blacktop Banter family. And I'm super, super hyped for a full circle, right? Like we've done full circle things at Blacktop Banter before. That event is a full circle thing. And today I have one of my good friends from a long time, right? And he's back here as full circle. Eric Triplett, the pond digger. Eric, you want to let people know who you are and what you do?
What's up, my dude? What's up? Hey, I'm a pond builder. I'm a father. I'm a coach. I'm a bonsai fanatic. I love koi. I love fish, tropical fish, and I've just basically turned my passion into my business many years ago. Before it was cool, actually, because I'm old. These gray beards. Yeah, I'm a pond builder, and I started doing that about over 20 years ago, 25 years ago, in that range. And but it's the real interesting about my story is, when I was 17, I graduated high school and went into construction right away. My dad was in contracting, went into construction right away. By 5 years, I was like pretty good, making great money, but I just wasn't happy. So I quit my day job. I didn't have a family, didn't have a house, didn't have any crazy bills or anything, which was good at the time. And I basically, went back home and just started doing fish stuff, and then it took me a decade to start making good money at that. And then after that, and I was just doing only aquariums, and then it flipped to ponds because, it's like an outdoor aquarium, a pond, Yeah. And then like from there, I just got back into construction, and then it was like it was really cool because I was like, I knew how to run crews, I knew how to do all that stuff. So I think my story, going from construction to my passion and then taking my passion back into construction, was really helpful, because if I would have got my passion into construction, I probably wouldn't have, done as well. It was taking me long,
Yeah, it was a perfect blend.
Yeah, right. That's kind of it in a nutshell, my career, where I'm at. Still loving what I do.
Yeah. When it comes to the labor side of it, right, and what we do, I mean, I hate to call it labor so much, right, because like you love what you do, right? Like, so it's I mean, physically we have to move things, we got to dig things, we got to hook things up, we got to connect things, but it's a labor of love,
for sure.
Point. So people are going to wonder, like, dude, how do these two guys connect? Like, what in
Yep.
the world
Little
would make
funny.
you guys connect, right? And I think that that would be more surprising if I wouldn't have made so many like out of left field connections since you and I first connected. But little known fact, I kind of talk about a mastermind group that I was very first in. I didn't even know what a mastermind group was 6 or 7 years ago, but somehow I got fumbled into one, and we didn't even call it a mastermind group when we were in there. Um, Actually, we're not supposed to talk about what it was and what it was called, really, but we are. And
I think they talk about it now. I think they all talk about it.
yeah. I mean, for me, it was a giant pivotal point in my career and in my life. You and Brian Ring were kind of the older gentlemen in the group, more successful than we all were. And by default, you became my mentor and my coach in a lot of different ways, right? And I remember being under the gun, and I'd never been under the gun before. I'd be asked questions like, what are you doing to get your face out there more? What are you doing to get your business out there more? Where have you set your goal for your top line this year? And I was like, I don't do any of that stuff. Like, I don't know what you're even talking about. But then I realized, like, dude, if I don't do something, I'm going to be like the odd person out of this group for a while. So then I would kick in and start doing it. It was those things in that group that we were in that really changed the trajectory, I would say, of my life and my career, because I went from an introvert that didn't use social media because I was so scared of what people would think, to, I would say I'm an extrovert now, but deep inside, I don't really want to be. But I knew that I had to do something because you were having such great success at it. The other people in that group were having great success with social media marketing campaign and branding, and then how they coupled that with their business. That group was amazing for me, right? And it was for a year or so, it was a lifeline. Every day we were in there, like all day, every day, nonstop. And then all of a sudden, like a year later, you popped in one day and you're like, well, guys, it's been fun. I don't feel like there's anything I can pull more out of this group, and I got to upgrade. All right, see you later. Bye. And I was like, oh crap. Like, oh, okay. There's still some players in here. This will be okay. And then probably 3 days later, our friend Matt was like, well, guys, yeah, I kind of got to take what we've learned here and apply it to my life. See you later. Bye. And I was like, apparently this must be the move, because if not, we're going to stay in here and keep talking about the same thing. So then a few days later, like, I thought about it quite a bit, and I was like, okay, everything I've learned from Eric, everything I've learned from everybody in this group, I really need to apply this to my life in order to reach the levels of success that I want to reach. And I bounced. Then I was out in the wide open, and I was started to form and find my own mastermind groups myself. But let's talk about that a little bit, and kind of like that trajectory that has brought you to our backstory. I guess we'll talk about our backstory, but how do you view it? Do you view it how I view it, or how do you view it differently than I do?
A little bit. Here's the tricky thing. There's a lot to unravel in there. So the craziest thing is that was probably one of the funnest masterminds, but also very unique mastermind that I've been in. And what people don't maybe not realize here is it was very limited because it was on Snapchat. First of all,
Right.
the mastermind was on Snapchat.
Yeah.
We had Wisconsin, we had Georgia, we had Southern California. I mean, we were all across the country, right? I
Right.
don't remember the origins of all the other people, but it was across the states, across the industries. You were the odd guy out because, like, asphalt industry, there wasn't even an industry, there wasn't even a community built yet, which was amazing. And I say it was kind of a secret. We didn't talk about it. We had our special name for the group, for the mastermind. And so, but we did talk a lot on there, and I think I learned a lot from people. And you called me the old dog, and I appreciate that. It's respect, bro. But it was interesting for me because it was like I was coaching a lot of guys there. I was trying, like, helping up, and by coaching, I became better because it made me look inside myself more. It made me figure out, because if I can't explain to you how it's working for me, if I can't explain it well enough, I don't know it well enough. I don't know who said that. You probably do, but it made me work harder at explaining things and getting things out. And so I think I became better as a human as well. That's why I loved it so much, and that's why I stuck it out for a year.
Yeah, and I mean, to be honest with you, you know, I don't know what it would have looked like without that pressing impact, right? It would have just been guys hanging out, probably talking about the green industry, because that's why they knew me, because I went to the green industry to see how that community worked, how it functioned, and how these guys were having success with social media. Because I'd never done audio, video, anything like that ever in my life in school or anything. And yeah, I mean, for me, that's what I can see from it, right? I mean, that also put some responsibility on you though, because like you were giving out a piece of advice that I was taking very seriously. Like, this is how it is. Like, this is how success is. Here's the thing: when I applied it, we seen ground gained, right? And it was like, all right, Eric knows what he's talking about. So then I would be like, all right, well, what else? I would start asking a lot of questions, and I still ask a lot of questions, which probably is why I'm a podcast host, I guess. But that kind of parlayed, right? I mean, you were very good at it. You're very good at it, and
Bro.
yeah, no worries, man. And
Well,
that kind of led to something later on here that we'll talk about. But I want you to talk about your career a little bit more, and like, because not only have I done that, I think in my space, right? You talk about me forming the community and then creating things that Blacktop Banter does. Like, you know, I had a podcast with somebody the other day, and I said, you can't be a trailblazer without setting stuff on fire. Right. And for me, that was like, I was doing stuff in my industry that was old, and everything around it that was old hat was like falling apart and burning apart. You did that, man. I mean, when we talk about your space too, mine is niche, but the pond digging and building and that side is super niche. So you were even got to the point where you had to create your own product line in order to do what you wanted to do. Can we talk about your career in that side a little bit?
I'd love to talk a little bit more about my career. I don't want to lose the fact that the mastermind, because I think there's more to talk about there for the audience. I think that's important. So for me, differently, there was already kind of a community being built in the water garden industry, probably around, I mean, I was in fish for many, many years, but in probably around like 2001 or two, there was a community already being built out by a manufacturer. And so there was already events kind of being held and happening.
Oh, okay.
I wasn't responsible for the community, but my mindset and the way I am and my personality was always like, the mindset of like abundance. You know, there's abundance mindset where I would be like, hey, I'll share what I know. I want to learn what you know. I've just always had that. And it can't come from my passion for fish, because I would have this fish and there was no internet, you know what I mean? So I would learn something about a fish and I would go to the fish store and I'd be trying to buy more fish, and someone would go, oh, what do you know about this fish? And you would just pour it out. It was like you had this. So I think that was kind of my abundance mindset when I got into the industry. A lot of people didn't like that. A lot of people wanted to hold it close to them. So, you know, I know pond contractors across the country, across the world, you know, Ireland, Canada, like we've helped people in Africa, you know, all over the place. So, I mean, it's because I've had that mindset and I've been so open and friendly meeting people. I literally could go to any state and I could probably name a pond builder that would invite me into their home and I could like stay there for the weekend, you know?
Yeah.
Made a lot of friends across the country.
Yeah. And I've done that same kind of thing, right? Like at first, when I first would go places, people had that kind of like, you know, like, hey, where are you staying? And I'm like, I don't know yet. And they'd be like, oh, well, there's a great hotel right here, you know, right close to the shop or whatever. Now, whenever I go anywhere, people ask where you're staying, and I'm like, oh, I'm probably going to get a hotel here. No, you're not. No, you're not. You're coming. We have a whole room set aside for you. Actually, you can have our room. We'll stay in the garage. And I'm like,
yeah. Nice.
That's by being a good person and a nice person and treating people really well with no expectations of anything in return. I think that when you talk about, you know, that community that was being built by the manufacturer already in your industry, your personality, the way you are, and your character as a person fit into that right away really, really well, while everyone else's didn't. So when society in general changed to where we were using social media to build communities and expand on communities, you were already ahead of the game there. I mean, I remember you showing us some videos of some stuff you had going in the works, and I was like, damn, like this is big time, like big time, big time. And I was like, I'm so far behind. I felt so far behind in an industry where it hadn't even been started yet. Then that was the craziest part, where I knew that if I did this correctly and I stayed determined and I kept my vision and kept pushing, and was an example like you had set in your industry, that I could do this. I just knew I was going to take a lot of arrows, right? Like early on, I knew I was going to take a lot of arrows, and I did. Some of those comments are still on some of my YouTube videos from early, and I love going back and looking at them, because now it's like, those wounds healed really, really well. And now I got a really good set of armor the community put on me. But yeah, I mean, that's how it worked. And I think that's why you had such good success on your side too, as well.
Well, listen, when you're a trailblazer, like you said, you're setting things on fire, you're going to take arrows. I mean, you're the man out front. I think I'd like to think you could probably go back and look at my career. I was a trailblazer in the community, because people weren't as passionate about it as I was, or people weren't as friendly as I think it was just like the way things fell. But I have something really interesting I want to share with you, bro, because I just talked about it last night with my wife, and it just like smacked me in the face. I'm going to probably write a blog. I'm going to do all kinds of stuff on this. But so we have a farrier here at the ranch, and for those of you who don't know, it's like they put horseshoes on the feet. They take care of the feet of the horse, right? So the farrier comes here. He's like a second or third generation farrier, right? And he's in my age. He's in his mid 50s. Well, his father is like in his 90s or something like that. His father was a farrier, and his father was a farrier for like 50 years. So go back like 70 years, okay? And he's a small town community. He's a farrier, and he's very, very good at what he does. And everyone loves and adores this guy. And he keeps all his secrets to himself. He doesn't want to teach anybody how to be. He doesn't have an apprentice that he's teaching. He waits for his son to be old enough so he can help, right? So like, he keeps all his secrets. I have goosebumps telling you, to himself. He doesn't want to tell anybody how to do it. He doesn't want to create a community. He doesn't want another friend who's a farrier. The other farriers are like competition. I want to take care of all the horses' feet in the whole community. And that's how I think a lot of the contractors are built out. It was built in our community, from way back 70 years ago. That's how it all started. People wanted to keep that shit close at hand. And so today, social media, everything's different, but a lot of contractors still have that same programming, that same mentality. They need to change their mindset, because back then there probably wasn't that many horses to take care of in that one little community, right?
Yeah.
Well, we have a lot of blacktop to take care of. We have a lot of houses to build ponds in. Abundance is out there. We just have to have that mindset shift.
Yeah. And I was we were on a podcast together recently, and I was explaining to you that when I first spoke at National Pavement, I wrote a killer article for Pavement Magazine. That article got recognized by the National Pavement Expo. They wanted me to speak on social media. So I go in there, talk about all the forms of social media, what they do for where you are, where you're located, and that how if they don't do something coming up in these coming years, guys like me who are starting with nothing are going to be able to topple their 7-figure empires within 2 or 3 years if it's done correctly and done the right way. And I remember their faces just being like, yeah, right. And then I'm like, how you're going to win is you're going to go to your projects, show people where you are, what project you're on, and what you're doing. And then when you show that, that's going to go out to an audience, and that audience is going to associate you killing that project with you being the person in that area to hire for that type of work. Their brains hit it, or it hit their brains with, you're actually going to tell me that I'm going to show people how I do what I do, and I'm going to show them the client that I do it for. I remember one of the guys saying, why would I show somebody my whale? They're like, why would I show somebody my whale? I'm like, so you want one whale? I'm like, okay. If you want one whale, then you go ahead and keep it all to yourself. I said, the guys like me are going to want a lot of whales. I said, I want all the whales. I said, and I'm going to win whales by showing them my other whales. I said, you do what you're going to do. I'll do what I'm going to do. And we'll see who wins here in 5 years. Luckily, that guy since has become one of my good friends, him and his partner. And they had me come down, see them, talk with them about social media, content creation, branding, and get a campaign. They stuck with it. Dude, they are crushing it. They only used to line stripe. Now they line stripe, they patch, they seal coat, they pave, they do everything. They were featured in magazines, they're winning awards. And it's like, I don't want to say told you so, but they do enough of it for me, right? We go places and they're like, this guy knows. This guy knows, right? And I'm like, perfect. That's all I need. Like, that'll work out just great. But it's that getting that mindset switch of like, your trade secrets, showing why you're the best at what you do now is the win. When before it used to be they would think it was a fault, right? Now it's the win, like it's the move.
Yeah, they don't want to share the secrets. That's where that whole mindset comes from. It's interesting that you said that you did the article and that you're speaking on stage. It's very similar to what happened, through my career, and maybe that's why you even talk about it. Because if you go back in time, I wrote an article about Periscope. If anyone even knows what Periscope is, and Periscope might make a comeback at some level now that Elon's taking over Twitter. Trust me, bro. Trust me on this. But listen, that's the receipt right here in case he does come back. The receipt.
All right. Yeah, we'll cut the clip out and I'll post
it. Okay. So look at Periscope was out. I went live on Periscope every day. And then we're going to talk about media right here and all this stuff, right? So Periscope came out. I went on to Periscope every day, like for 6 days a week for like a year. I would live broadcast, and it got me very comfortable in front of the camera. Got me very comfortable with sending a message. It got me very comfortable with copywriting for headlines and hooks and those kind of things, right? And now that was like 8 years ago, and you and I are connected because of Periscope. I can trace it back because Periscope, I met Naylor Taliaferria, and then I met some of the other guys, and then the mastermind was created by Naylor. It was on Snapchat, and so Periscope started to die out a little bit because Facebook was getting the play, and then Snapchat became the very cool place to be. And so I was on Snapchat doing daily stories, having a good time. The stories on Snapchat got me into storytelling, and I was pretty good at it because I was so comfortable in front of the camera because of Periscope. And then I wrote an article on Snapchat for my industry.
Yeah, I remember it. So Snapchat, right? It's not just for teenage girls or something.
Oh, you're right. Exactly what it was, dude. And so, and then I think I wrote one on Instagram, and I wrote one on whatever. I probably did 3 different ones. But see, here's the really important thing, bro. You did that conference, that speaking engagement. You told people about video or media or whatever you are, and like you're becoming a media dude now. Like that's what you do, right?
Right.
But so exactly what I learned and applied, and I was executing on Periscope. Went straight to Snapchat, then it went to Facebook, and then it went to Instagram, then now it's on TikTok. I could take it back to YouTube. I could take it back to Periscope if it comes back, and I could take it wherever I want. The copywriting's getting better for me, the camera, all that stuff, communicating with people, it all gets better and better and better. And so what we're doing is we're just taking what we've learned, and you apply it to a different platform. I don't care what platform comes next. I'm going to be in on it, and I'm going to work it.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at us here at Blacktop Banter, like you've been part of my journey now for 6 or 7 years, and I tried every one of them, and I tried following the footsteps and designs that were winning, that I knew were winning in the green industry and other industries around me, but I was always late to the game. Right now, when TikTok came, I was like, all right. I gave it a little bit, messed around on the app, and I'm like, I think I got this thing figured out. Like everything that I had prepped for before, I even wanted to make Vines. I think I tried making Vines and stuff for a while, right? Because I was like, dude, the short form content is so much funner. You can get so much. It hits that, it hits your receptors well. Boom, you can just go to next one. So I was like, I want to show the very interesting thing very fast with a cool caption and be done. And when TikTok came, that's when I realized like the asphalt industry long form content, unless you're a geek, isn't going to win. But the short form content that shows really what's super interesting about what we do is appealing to everybody. Right. So I'm like, okay, that's what we're going to do. And what I had learned training through the other social media forms until TikTok hit prepared me to be in a position of, all right, this is the one where we're going to win. And we win. Like in my industry, there's no one compares to Blacktop Banter. We're in front. And I'd always seen that. I'd seen that where people had adapted really well to the new social media and they did it first and they did it well and everyone was chasing them and is still chasing them. It's like being the first person to come up with, you know, like let's say like Apple, right? Or Windows or whatever you come with first, that person is always getting chased for a long time. And that's what was happening. Well, when TikTok hit and we executed really well on things that I've been trained in for the last 5 years, going through the gauntlet, we did really well with it. And even now, like on the podcast side, I feel like we're behind everybody else. We're winning in our industry, but I compare myself outside of that with everything. And I don't think that we do the best. I mean, we do the best within our industry, which is all I can ask for. But I feel like I was late to the game, and you know, just it is what it is at this point. But like you said, you train and then you keep your eye out for the next wave that's coming of whatever it is, and get prepared for it.
For sure, for sure. I started. I love the podcast thing. What you're talking about there, because like right now, going into December, I want to. My goal for that. I'm stepping on the gas here at the end of the year, right? I'm not going to just cruise into December. We hit our numbers where we were supposed to be. I still got 30 days to add to it. I'm feeling good about that, but I want to pour gasoline on the fires that are doing well. Too many times, you know, contractors or business entrepreneurs are trying new things out all the time. And I think that's important, but I don't want to neglect like the things that you're doing really well on.
Right.
You just got to pour gasoline on the things that are doing well, right?
Yeah.
And so, you know, I started my podcast about 3.5, 4 years ago, but I wasn't super diligent, and it kind of takes me back to the past where I try things like there used to be, before Facebook, there would be just forums, and I had a forum on my website that I would go to every day, and it was like me by myself. There was like nobody, right? I wonder if I still have access to that forum, because you know, but I would just dump content in there into this thing, right? No one was listening. It was by myself. And then all of a sudden I started to have people, and people would come in there, and then I would be answering questions, and it was really cool. And then the forum turned into like Facebook or whatever, right?
Right.
But I kind of viewed my podcast like that. It was just a place to dump information, you know, and I knew podcasts would be important. Gary Vee told me to do it, you know, so I started playing with it, right? So, you know, but I want to get way more serious on the podcast. You know, on the behind the scenes, I'm asking you, how many hits are you going? How many people are you talking to? How is it helping your business? Because I think the podcasts that I've laid down over the past 3 years, 4 years, I really love them, and I love recording podcasts, you know? So I'm going to pour some fire on it, because it's like the smoldering thing back here that I think can do really well for myself, my industry, and me becoming a better person, a better version of myself, because I get to talk to more people.
Yeah.
So I'm pouring some gasoline on my podcast, and I'm so glad I'm here today.
Dude, we have that same kind of mindset. So I had a meeting yesterday morning, like where you are, it's early, right? It was 6 a.m., right? So I'm like, dude, that's early for somebody to like get up and be on the podcast and get going. But then I reflect back, because just yesterday I had a 6 o'clock meeting with somebody from France who reached out to us and was like, I really want to cut your content up. Like, I want to work with you. I want to take your long form content, grab the best pieces out of there, create short form content with it, and deliver that to you. And I want to do it for free until you decide it's not worth free anymore. It's worth money. I'm like, okay, that sounds fine. Let's do this. And like for me, that's the podcast. The best pieces that come out of the podcast are when we're halfway or 3/4 of the way through the conversation, when everybody's comfortable, we're all genuine, we're all being ourselves, and something spits out like, to be a trailblazer, you have to set some stuff on fire like that. I'm not just going to sit down one day, have my videographer Wise turn the camera on and me say that to the camera. I probably should, but the first bit of it is going to come through a great conversation through the podcast. And to kind of touch on what you're talking about, where it started in the forums and whatnot, when I first started doing the podcast, or not even the podcast, right? The Facebook group, I asked somebody if they would, because I'd seen the green industry get their influencers get sponsorship deals and things. I went to one of the, at this time I had no fear, because I was like, you're going to be asking the most outlandish shit to them anyways in their minds, but it's not crazy to me because I've seen it done already. So I'm like, you're just going to do it. You have confidence. They're not going to understand it. But anyways, I go up to one of the largest seal coating outfit manufacturers. So a trailer unit all ready to go, whatever, for seal coating. I go up and I'm like, hey, would you be interested in sponsoring some of our videos and our company and whatever else we do? And he's like, yeah, what's the website for your forum? I'm like, no, it's not a forum. Oh, well, what is it? I'm like, well, we do it on Facebook, because it's a Facebook group. Yeah, what's the website for the forum for that? I'm like, no. I'm like, he's like, well, we sponsored a forum. If it's not a forum, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm like, well, I'll explain it to you. Like, you have a Facebook, right? No, I don't have a Facebook. I'm like, dude,
You need to pay me.
what?
And you're like, you
Yeah.
need to.
So then I tried explaining it, and as soon as I started explaining it, Eric, I watched them they turned to like this sheet of paper, right? It just went burnt, and there was nothing there. I'm like, shoot, like I'm literally gonna have to make a lot of noise. I'm gonna have to lead by example and make a lot of noise so that they come and ask me what is going on. Because when I went to try to deliver it, it was like I was speaking Chinese, bro. It was just like, huh? And so what I would do is I would keep my eyes open for people in the industry that were in positions to make those decisions, that understood what the future looked like. They were Gary Vee fans, right? They were using Instagram. They were using all these other ones. And I would get into conversations with them and be like, you think your company would be interested in that? Oh, yeah, for sure. We understand it. I'm like, oh, okay. And I would start super small. Like some of our very first ones that we had was Stencil Plus. They sponsored us, and then Liberty Supply and Manufacturing, which I'm actually having lunch with the owner of them today. And they're still sticking with us, but they got in super cheap, super cheap, like super cheap. And it was definitely not about the money as much as it was just having sponsors so that I could show the industry how this worked, right? And then knowing that it was going to be a super long play for it. But the big dogs who you thought would be totally understanding and know what was going on because they were super successful in the industry had no clue what was going on. It was the young fledgling startup companies that understood what was going on, and that's who we worked with.
So where's the meat and potatoes for your audience that's like that you're so far ahead of them they don't even know what to do? Maybe they're in a different even a different trade, but somehow they're listening to you as you trudge, and your own path, right? I think there's going to be something besides Facebook, or Facebook's going to pivot and they're going to offer another service on there to communicate with people. It's going to be different. And as we get older, we're not going to understand it. Hopefully we stay open enough to go, oh, hey, we got to pivot. Right. But there's some point where you might not pivot when something's happening faster and someone pivots in. There's going to be a chance for everyone to do the same thing you've done.
Yeah. And what I always say, whether I'm speaking or writing an article or anything, is whatever is going on, create an account, get on there, try it out. Just keep trying it. Keep on there a little bit. Keep using it, keep messing with it. Some stuff you'll see, what was hard was Snapchat never became searchable, right? For the most part, especially when it had its time, it had its moment where it could have toppled the giant, and they didn't. And that's when I had to abandon it as far as marketing my businesses and whatnot. I still use it and whatnot a little bit, but it's an audience that has to find me by finding me. Like they can't go on there and just find me. And that's the hardest part, was that by that time, TikTok had came along, already moved ahead, and yada, yada. For me, when I talk to anybody, I'm like, hey, create a profile, get on there, mess around a little bit. It's not going to hurt you. And you might find one of them that really suits you very, very well, that you enjoy quite a bit. And if the secret sauce happens to where you really enjoy it and it takes off and you like doing it, chances are you're going to hit on it. And when you hit, an opportunity is going to be created that you've never seen there before. And that's like, you know, this behind me, like that was it. That was all it was that I enjoyed doing the social media, creating content. I enjoyed being part of the community, highlighting our community. And the fact was that I had been pre-trained by yourself and everybody else of, you know, how to use these platforms well, to where when TikTok hit and the podcast started, that combination just took off. And I like to say it just took off, but we're 3 years in now. And, you know, that's not really taking off, I guess, right away. But, you know, I wouldn't have been able to launch it without it.
It's the 3-year overnight success.
Yeah, 3-year overnight success. And then, you know, 3 years before that, training. You know, I did a podcast yesterday and they were like, Marvin, there's podcasts popping up in the asphalt industry like every week. And it was an asphalt podcast. Shout out to those guys, Apps and Asphalt. And you know, their podcast is kind of focused on technology in the asphalt industry. And they're like, Marvin, all these podcasts popping up, like, are you ever worried like somebody's going to be the best podcast, you know, and it's not going to be Blacktop Banter anymore? I'm like, dude, if they can put in the time, effort, and consistency and dedication that I have put in to make this work, I'll hand it to them. Like, they deserve it. Like, I will bow down, like, it, because it became, it's my life. Like, it's what we do. It's our passion. It's what we love. Here's the other thing. Now we house, I would consider at least 2 of the best podcasts in the asphalt industry, asphalt maintenance industry here at Blacktop Banter, about four other creators, 2 really good podcasts as well. Besides those other 2, I want, if at some point they're like, you know, we want to bust off and do our own thing, I want to support that. Like, I would love for Blacktop Banter to be part of their story, the same way that our mastermind group was part of my story and we went off to success. I want them to have more success. And if that means us being part of it, for them to have a platform so that they can go on to have more success, all that does is create more success for us as well, because I know they're going to be grateful for that and they're going to reach back. And if there's an opportunity for us, we're going to take that from them, and they're going to take an opportunity from us if we have an opportunity for them. That's the sweet sauce of everything that we do. So I don't really worry about it, because it's the same as the contractor side of it, right, Eric? Like, we share our secrets, we help out. We're not worried somebody's going to build more ponds than us or seal coat more parking lots than us, because we keep winning by doing whatever this recipe has been. I keep doing that in my industry now, that's the podcast industry as well. Like, I want to see these guys win. I want all of us to get to the end and me not have been the only one that had this level of success within the industry, because that's a lonely cheers, dude. If you're like, yeah, let's cheers to all of our success and social media. Oh, all right, I'll drink alone. That's lame, bro. That's super lame.
George Thorogood just came to mind right there.
Yeah.
Most of your audience, I don't know who he is, but look up I Drink Alone, George Thorogood. It's a rocking song.
And the Destroyers. Yeah, the Destroyers.
That's another example of you having abundance mindset, which is attributed to your success, I have no doubt. And the person that asked you, either opening up to like, should I go into this abundance mindset, because they're still stuck in maybe like the hold it all to yourself, like, hey, aren't you worried about this? And you're like, nope. And they go, oh, hopefully you like broke through a little bit. Like, I don't worry about it. You shouldn't either. And I think that's a message already kind of coming out in this. I want to go back to Snapchat. I want to go back to the mastermind again. We're going to keep probably circling back to that, but
that's okay.
I think what happened was, I think part of my departure, now hindsight is 2020, is Snapchat was starting to lose.
Yes.
And so I was putting a lot of time into stories on Snapchat, you know, and I'd get, you know, well over 1,000 views a day on a story. And then it started to pull back and dwindle. Something was happening. And I was like, wait a minute, Instagram stories was happening. That was a pivotal point. And it's just so happened like we didn't pivot. So we didn't start the group on Snapchat. It wasn't necessarily our mastermind. We were just very active in it, right?
Correct.
So I think if that mastermind would have pivoted to, say, a Facebook platform where we were also maxed out. We could only have 14 people in a group,
Yeah,
right?
that's true.
So it was maxed out. If we would have made a pivot, maybe gone to Facebook at the time, and we would have done that, then maybe we would have kept going, because it was good for me. I did enjoy it a lot.
Yeah.
But that pivot point, Snapchat was going down, Instagram was coming in. I basically put all my time. I was like, I can't just be on Snapchat just only for you guys. I have to do other things too. And so I made the pivot, went to Instagram stories, and then went on my way. So
yeah, but you also set you set a discipline point of, if you do not post in here every day, you have to go. I remember you strictly saying that, like, you have to give something out in order to get something back. So everybody posted at least once. A discipline point was that every day. And when it didn't happen, we called people out on it when we were in there, right? So I think that was a big factor for me, because I had never really, I mean, I played sports and stuff when I was younger and different things, and I'd get up every day and go to work, but it always had a value attached to it, that wasn't just the fact that I'm disciplined, I need to do this in order to improve who I am as an individual. And that did that for me. So that small discipline point was the first thing. It was the first discipline point I had ever really truly had that was for a long-term goal and selfless. And I was 25, 26 years old. So that's a shame to say that. But from that point on, everything that has happened to me has come from discipline, right? And consistency. So, I mean, yeah, I'm with you there. It did start to track down, just because Snapchat started to track down and other things were going on. But because of those discipline points, all that time and energy that we were investing in there, it was obvious that if there wasn't a value coming from it anymore, because we had become so disciplined, we knew that we needed to find a value somewhere with that time, because it's the only commodity that we can't create more of. And we were like, okay, when I watched you do it and watched Matt do it, and then I did it, and I think that group still exists on there, but I haven't looked it up, or no one's touched it, I guess. But yeah, I mean, it became the MO. I mean, that's just how it worked, right? And then
we have a lot of fun on there. I don't know if you remember, I'm sure you remember this, but when I was laughing on that podcast we were on the other day, I had to press mute so I could laugh a little bit. But remember, we had like shirtless Saturdays or some shit like that.
Yeah. I had my shirt off one day, and everyone was like, "Oh, okay, we're gonna do shirtless."
Oh, we're gonna know shirts on Saturday, huh, boy?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, dude, I just remember having the funniest conversations and then doing stupid shit, and like, oh my God, showing hairy chests and shit. It seems really, it seems really weird if you're listening to this, but the way it was done, it was so funny, man. I just remember laughing for like an hour straight, crying and stuff.
And that was the camaraderie. Like we created camaraderie there. So that's the blend with what we do, right? So we have a Blacktop Banter success group here, and there's a camaraderie there. We get shit done. You know, it's modeled quite a bit from our mastermind that we had, and I've tried to do it 2 or 3 times, and it just took time to have the right people that would finally come up, that would commit to it and see the value. But then also, we just cheer for each other too, and we have fun, and somebody will post something and we'll laugh, or we do a group Zoom call 3 times a month, and when we're in that call, somebody will say something ridiculous, or something will happen in the background of their video, and we all just start busting out laughing, and for 5 minutes we shoot the shit, and then we get back on track and talk about our businesses and our families and all these things. Because let's be honest, it's 2022. Those mix together with entrepreneurs now, right? Life and business, they've always mixed together, but now they mix together in a way that has more of a magnifying glass on it, and the outside world can see it a lot more. When you just get to be genuine and be yourself, and you're around other contractors and people you connect with, it just feels good sometimes to realize that they're human just like you, and they don't always need to focus on business just like you. And that was what we did within that group too. Shirtless Saturdays.
That was hilarious, dude. Well, so listen, remember we talked about core values and making decisions off them the other day.
Yeah.
Character, team, win, fun. That's mine in that order, right?
Right.
And so everyone in the mastermind had good character. Everyone was participating and being part to help the team, and that's where the discipline came from. Like, if we're going to talk about marketing for the day, just tell us something that's working good for you. Give us a minute of your life real quick and tell us what's good about marketing. 14 guys, 14 minutes a day. We got a marketing topic. That was great, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then if they weren't participating, they were affecting the team. They weren't playing a team player. That's why we're like, hey, if you don't give us a minute of like on this topic, then we don't want you in the group anymore, right? So that's values were directing that. So character, team, and then we're winning. We were all winning, right? In our circles, we were pushing out, and then we would have fun. And that's where the Shirtless Saturdays was hilarious, right? So we were hitting on all core values. And at sometimes toward the end, Snapchat started to decline. We weren't winning as much from there. Maybe team members weren't participating as much, and then we were having more fun than winning. And so that was probably why I was like, okay, I'm going to pivot. I got to go now. I don't want to.
Right.
Yeah. That's where I make the decisions off of how I feel about my core values. I can always balance them against that. So
yeah, but we needed that. We needed that. I mean, it's not that it wasn't fun. Like I remember when you departed from there, you're like, dude, it has nothing to do with any of you guys. It has a lot to do with what I want to do with my life and with my time and in my business and everything from here. And yeah, I think it's ran its course. And since then, I've been in different mastermind groups that have done the exact same thing, right? Everyone elevates, we get to a certain level, and then it's like, okay, we have to go. It's a lot easier for everybody to depart and go find a different mastermind group that is at another level than it is to try to bring people in from a higher level to a smaller level mastermind. It just doesn't. That's one of the hardest things ever to do. So for me, like, I went and became part of masterminds that were outside of my industry that were higher level. But then also I tried to make a network of mastermind without them knowing that I was doing it. So I went to all the people in my industry that they kind of knew who I was at that point, and I knew that they knew their shit. So I would go and ask them to be on the podcast, to be part of this network, do whatever. And then when opportunities would come for me to speak or go places, I'd be like, yeah, can I bring them with me? Like, can I bring this person with and this person with? And then they would connect with somebody else. And then I was like, okay, well, let's all get in this little group here and we'll talk for a little while. Right. And then that would run its course, and then we would elevate again. I mean, for me, following that, I think following that diagram has undoubtedly brought me along. I love feeling like I'm the dumbest person in the group. Like, I love it. For me, I'm like, perfect. This is where I need to be. All I got to do is be myself, be genuine, be good, give back, help in any way I can. And I'm about to make some gains right here. And I like that aspect of it. If I'm the smartest person in the room and I feel like I know the most in the room, I better be getting paid to speak for about an hour, and then I'm done. Like, I want to go find where I'm dumb again because I want to learn. That's all there's to it.
For sure. I'll segue into that for sure. Sometimes I'll have that conversation with some of my employees. Like, I've had that specific conversation a couple of times, and I'm like, either you're going to come up with me or we're not going to hang out as much because I'm going to go do some other stuff. Okay. And like, how do you tell them, like, you're dumber than me? Like, and I'm trying to help you. Dude. You know what I mean? I'm trying to help you. And like, as long as you're getting better, that's going to help me get better. But if you're going to stay static where you're at, then, that's great. You can still be my employee. We can still work together, but it's going to get awkward. Like, you better be rising up with me,
Yeah, that's the hardest part too, because we're friendly people. Like, I want to be your friend. It's not that I never don't want to be your friend, but my priority, number one, and lies to me making sure that I become the best version of myself when my heart stops beating with the time that I've had here. And if for some reason you don't share that mindset, or you're doing something to slow that down, I can't be as close to you as I was or as I want to be, really, You know, with,
Yeah.
you know, with your core values, we kind of talked about mine. The very first one that's painted on the floor when you walk in is be positive here. Like that's the first step. I cannot deal with negativity. Like I can't, if it's raining outside, I know it's raining already. Don't come in and tell me it's raining. It's going to be a crap day. We lost the day, yada, yada. I already know that. Like, let's come in and tell me what's great about today. If it's not anything here, tell me what's great, what's going on in your life that was great. Like, tell me what you won last night. Did you go fishing last night? Did you catch it? Did you catch something badass? Did you go hunting last night? Did you watch the game? Did it get you excited? Like, tell me something positive. Let's not start on the negative stuff. And yeah, that's a hard thing because, you know, where I live, super rural, everybody knows each other. I'm friends with everybody. And you know, some of my best friends work here. And I can't control what happens outside of these walls and where they go, what they do, what they say. All I can do is try to make the best impression while they're here. But when they come back after a weekend, if we didn't work that weekend, which most of the time I try to get everybody to work the weekend, we could do it because we're seasonal. And if they come back and I can tell their mindset's changed, or they walk in and they go, I'm like, you don't want to be here? Don't be here. Like, go home.
Nice. Yeah.
Right. Go home and then figure out what you want to do. Like if you don't ever want to come back here, don't come back here. But I'm not going to let you walk in when we're all excited, happy to be here. We followed the core values. We're ready to go. You walk in and go, dude, I'm not gelling with that. And you could be my best friend. I'm not gelling with that. Go home. Like I hate to be that guy. I hate to sound like an asshole, but we have to control that atmosphere. I have to. I've seen way too much success, Eric. Like we've had way too much success changing our atmospheres and controlling what's going on inside of our climate to let somebody destroy it because we're friends. I feel like they take advantage of my friendship at that point, which is shitty to say, but I do.
You and I are very similar like that. And I want to backtrack just a little bit because I want to be careful about what I said. Like the employee that I've had that conversation with,
yeah,
we're very close. Like we fought a fire together and saved the ranch, and like we're very, very close. So you can't just have that conversation with any one of your employees with like, hey, you better rise up or you're out of here. You got to be very careful about that. The employee that I had that conversation with, like it was applicable.
Yeah.
Like, can't have that with everyone, but you can have that conversation just like you said with them. Like, hey, if you don't want to be here, like go home, bro.
Yeah. I'm not trying to be a jerk about it. Right.
Yeah.
If there's stuff to sort out and I can't help you sort that out, and you being here doesn't help alleviate that, you shouldn't be here. Like you got to go figure out where you can help alleviate that in some sense. And if that means us having a conversation after the workday is done, tell me where. I'll meet you for a beer. We'll talk it out and I'll help you with that. But now is not the time. Right.
I do have a funny story. I had a new employee. I hadn't worked with him personally. He was like a friend of one of the guys on the team. And I'm like, yeah, bring him on. And he was here for about a week, I think, and I was like, okay, I want to get some alone time with this new guy. And I was like, hey, I need an apprentice. I need some muscles. And so I was like, I rolled in. I'm like, hey, you're rolling with me. He's like, okay. And they're like, go, dude. You get to roll with the boss. Go, He hops in the truck. We're headed out there. I'm like, hey, man, what's your favorite thing about the job so far? You've been here a week, right?
Right.
What's your favorite thing about the job so far? He's like, oh, man, like it's really cool to get to hang out with my boys and we laugh at work and it's cool and stuff. I'm like, all right, cool. Yeah, that's team, bro. That's team. That's a core value. He's like, yeah, yeah. I'm like, what's the thing that you hate the most about the job, bro? He literally looked at me dead in the face. He's like, I hate digging. I literally hate digging. It's like the worst thing to do is to dig. I mean, I don't even know how so-and-so's been doing it for so long. And I'm like, bro, you hate digging? He's like, yeah. I'm like, bro, we're called the pond diggers, bro. Like we dig every day, bro. He's like, I know. I'm just telling you I hate digging. I'm like, okay. That was his last day. I let him go the next day. I'm like, hey, bro, listen, you just can't be here, bro. You got to go. Go find something you love to do. And he was shocked, but I think I probably did him a favor. You know?
Yeah, more than likely. Yeah, more than likely. And of course they're probably like, right away, right away when you get cut, it stings, hurts, and bleeds. But later on, chicks think scars are cool. So it's like, oh, yeah, right. Cool. Yeah. It was badass. But we do that same. I can tell when I am like, hey, you're with me today, and it's one of the young kids and they're new or whatever, they're like, oh shit, right? And now I'm like, we'll get going out there, and pretty soon after the end of it, they're comfortable. We're comfortable. We did our job's fairly simple, right? Fairly easy to me, anyways. It is, I guess, but it all depends on your intimidation factor and whatnot. But yeah, I mean, same boat, man. I think that you kind of got to find there's a sweet spot. There's a sweet spot with how you treat people that are your friends, that become your friends. Like everybody becomes my friend. I'm totally at fault for that. I'm no hard ass. I'm a big softy. I got the biggest heart. I want to know about your life. I'm curious about people. I want to know how I can help you right away. And so I start helping you right away. And then after a while, that becomes a detriment to me if you don't treat me the same way. Right. So then I'm like, shit, here I go. Like I gotta become an asshole like right now. So I try not to do that, dude. I try, like, it's super hard as an employer, like for me, because I want to be your friend, like right away. And I know it'd be better off if I didn't, if I just was the boss, right? But then I don't create that camaraderie and that team and that family feel that makes people want to go the extra mile when they're not getting paid to do the extra mile, right? And sometimes you have to have that.
There's a tug of war there for like a, you know, a mom and pa style business. I mean, I'm still mom and pa. We work right off the ranch. You're mom and pa. So it's like, it's kind of hard to do. There's definitely, like, my personal business coach, he's a numbers guy. If you don't make the cut, you're out. He probably has, you know, 100 employees. He probably wouldn't, if he walked down in the morning, he probably couldn't tell their names. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He has supervisors and managers and the crew chiefs, like they're just numbers to him. And so I still pay him to be my coach. You know, he's next level for me. They're doing 21 million a year. You know, I want to hang with this guy, right? But I have a real tug of war with him. Is because it's like, I don't really want to run my business like that. I mean, I want something different out of my life. It's not just about the money for me. So, you know, I have to take what I learned from him and kind of blend it into what I do. And sometimes when I'm on my coaching call with him, he's yelling at me about numbers. I'm like, okay. So I'll push back on him too sometimes. You know, I'm paying him, but I want to listen and be humble, but I also push back a little bit on things. So that's interesting. But I have one other story. I definitely want to segue into something important about being in the field, because you're still in the field with your boys, right?
I try not to be the most I can, but then some days I'm like, I just gotta be. Like for me, it alleviates headspace quite a bit. But I went into this year telling them that I was going to be in the field a lot less. And I've had a conversation with my crew lead already. Like, dude, my goal is to not be in the field, like at all.
Yeah.
I know I will be. Like, I know that. But I want my goal to not be in the field at all anymore if I can help it.
So I think this is a good conversation. We're both kind of in the same spot, but let me tell you back another story, because we talked about taking on the apprentice. And I think this gives some structure to like who I am and who you are. But I had another new employee, and I took him with my truck a couple of times, and like, he didn't talk much. I would like ask him a question. He wouldn't say anything. I'm like, okay, he doesn't want to talk. So anyways, he knew my daughter. Like, my daughter dated his brother, and like, I'm like, tell me about this Mikey kid. What's up with him? And they're like, he's just kind of shy. I'm like, well, I'm going to break through this shyness. He was a good worker, right? And then I'm like, what's his favorite band? You know? And so they're like, he loves Kendrick Lamar. I'm going to show my age a little bit. This was about 6 years ago, right? I'm like, who's Kendrick Lamar? And they're like, oh, you know. And so anyways, the next time I picked him up, I was like to pick him up. I rolled up. I put on Kendrick Lamar on my stereo on my truck, and he gets in the truck, and I'm like, "What's up, Mikey?" He's like, "What's up?" You know, and we start driving. I don't say anything. I'm like, "Is it cool if I just throw some jams on?" He's like, "Yeah." And like put on Kendrick Lamar, and I just cranked it up a little bit, and I just rode down the street. Now I listened to the song like 5 or 6 times, so I knew a couple lyrics. I knew how to
got royalty inside.
Yeah. So I'm like, so I'm rolling down the street. I'm like, this shit's bumping, dude. I love this Kendrick Lamar. And I'm singing it and playing it. And I could see him out of that side of my eyes right here. And he was just like sitting there like this. And he was like, and I'm just bumping it. And he starts going like this. And then all of a sudden we're like talking. Like I was relatable, you know.
Yeah.
And he was like 21 years old, he might have been 19 years old. And then now, you know, he's one of my crew chiefs. He's a crew leader. He talks and he's like, but I had to break through that barrier with him. So I do like to do that. I look inside the employees. They're not a number to me, you know.
Yeah.
So that's one of very memorable moment for me, you know, me bonding with an employee.
One of my favorite things that we do here, and I think, like, I don't know that I've ever really said this, or definitely don't put it out to my friends group and stuff here, just because everybody's so tight and no one would really give a shit and they would just call me weird, like they always do. But I really enjoy the fact that people will come here, or I'll reach out to some young guys or whatever to work here, and I'll get feedback, not while they're here, or not even what after they started, but beforehand, right? Because word travels fast in small towns, man. So even if I put the word out, hey, I want them to come here so I can interview them, I'll already hear things through Snapchat before that person even gets here of, dude, he's quit every job he's been to. He, you know, he ain't cut out for physical labor. He couldn't even do this or do whatever. And they get here, and one of my friends, Brian Hess, he sent over a paper a long time ago for me to hand to people, like how I want to be coached, right? But I don't even necessarily do that until they are going to be hired. But I'll ask them stuff right away, and I'll get a feel for what they enjoy to do in life, what makes them comfortable and uncomfortable, by asking just a series of questions or taking a tour or getting a feel for it. And one of these people that they said like would never work here, right, and wasn't going to last, he's probably a number 2 in command here, been here 3 years, right, loves coming here, never has missed a day, never have I heard a complaint, right? I like none of it. Like, he's been I put him in the position for him to excel what he's really good at. He takes a lot of thought process, time, and effort and energy off of our crew leads by making sure that all the inventory is stacked where it needs to be. Anything that's maintenance is maintenance and done. And like, that's what he likes to do. He likes to be left alone, do his thing, be meticulous. He doesn't talk a lot, but when he does say something, it's the funniest shit you've ever heard that day. I can promise you. And he waits and waits and waits and waits. And it's not his style to make somebody laugh their ass off. But when he does it, you don't expect it, and he knows that it's going to be a banger. So he'll drop a great, you know, he'll say one-liners, and we'll just fucking be dying laughing, and he gets satisfaction knowing that he got us good and that we knew he wasn't going to say that type of shit. But we've done the same thing with people where they're like, man, he doesn't work hard. I'm like, okay, I didn't say I need somebody to work hard. I need somebody to do this, and I can pay them to do this, and they'll get here. And I don't think we've ever had somebody that just wanted to quit. Like, they've never been here and just wanted to quit. Like, most of the time it's like, well, we're done for the season. They find something else, and then they don't come back for the season or whatever. But I pride myself on that, being able, I think I can take anybody at any point, put them in a certain position or role if we have it available, to where they're going to be satisfied with their work and what they do and like it here. And I think that just takes a lot of, like you were saying, you got to be able to connect with them, right? Connect with them a little bit, start to talk to them a little bit, understand them a little bit. And who knows, you can make the place where they work their home.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of have to do that in the mom and pop environment and the culture that we're trying to create. Like, these guys are here, like I see them more than their spouses, you know, or more their mom or their dad or their whatever, you know, their friends. We see them more than that. So it's funny because that guy sounds like he's like the guy from Gone in 60 Seconds, you know, that guy that doesn't say a word the whole movie and then towards the end just talks. That's hilarious. I love that. I do want to talk about coaching for a little bit. Do we have time to do that?
Yeah, man, we got plenty of time.
So I know you're doing coaching and you still wear your bags, right? Or you're getting out of it, right? Listen, I'm coaching a lot of guys, but I still put on my bags, and it's really interesting to me because I got to know my lane. I got to know who I can help, right? I know there's a lot of contractors are out there like, I don't want to be a coach. I don't want to be coached by you if you're still wearing your bags. I don't want to wear my bags anymore. And I'd be like, that's cool. You go get coached somewhere else.
Yeah.
you know, maybe I can't, maybe my message won't resonate with you, but bro, I just bought a brand new set of Diamondback tool bags, bro. And no, we're not officially sponsored by Diamondback, but they're sick ass bags. They were $500 just for the bags, you know? And so like, I got those because I still like going in the field. I still like building at the ranch. I still like, you know, getting my hands dirty or sitting in a machine. It's still part of who I am. But it doesn't mean that I can't help someone come up, you know,
Right.
in the business.
Yeah, yeah, that's what we do here too, right? Like, I mean, there's obviously there's higher level coaching within my industry now than what we offer. But here's the thing, the jump from that to that is massive, right? And not only that, the expense from that to that is massive if you're going to get coached, right? Because you have to make sure it's worth their time. And a lot of the contractors that are just starting out, they can't afford that, right? Like they're still trying to put gas in their truck and buy material. But if we can offer something in the range where we get them from here to here, and then like I've said, you're like, all right, now I'm going to jump from here to here. Perfect. Like that's perfect. I don't, for me, one of the things that coaching and mentorship has helped me immensely. Like there's no doubt I would not be here and would not have the level of success that we have without mentorship and coaching. I want to be able to improve my industry through the coaching and mentorship that we do here. How do we do that? We create successful contractors. We create contractors that are doing higher level work with integrity, morals, and with a good foundation, right? Because otherwise you get these guys that said, yeah, I tried it. We couldn't we didn't even make money. We did it 1 year and there ain't no money to be made there. And everybody else is trying to cheat everybody else. And it's just bad to get into. And that's not the case at all. It's just, if you do it correctly, you're fine. You're going to make it. Like we have plenty of guys that are in the Blacktop Banter Success Group that have been in there 2 or 3 years now that I've mentored and coached, and they make money and they're doing well and they're on their way to even make more. I want them to make more than me, right? Like I bring in guys to talk to my guys that are doing way better than I am, because I want them to see the opportunity beyond what we do here. Like we're pretty rural. Like when you say you're going to dig a pond out here, Eric, people literally think like you're going to go get a backhoe, dig it until you hit water, go park the backhoe, you're done. Like that's it. They're like, maybe you're going to go to the river, catch a fish, bring it in, throw it in there, which you're not supposed to do. Then maybe that's what they're going to do, right? Or you're going to go to the farm store, get a Rubbermaid tub, dig a hole, stick it in the ground, throw some fish in there, goldfish for the summer. They're probably going to freeze. Like that's that, right? So for us here, like where we are in our industry, I can only do so much, right? I love Southwest Wisconsin. I'm never going to leave. I'm probably never going to leave. I might venture off, right? And maybe get a place somewhere else or whatever, but I'm always going to be Southwest Wisconsin. I love it here. For us, we can only do so much in the area that we are. I want guys to be able to get to where we are, and hopefully they're in a position to do even better than what we are, so that I can ask them some questions later on of, dude, how did you do this? How did you do that? Right. I feel really good about that. That makes me feel like, I did. So to put that between you and I, for you to ask me questions about what we do makes me feel like I finally contributed the way that I was supposed to contribute all those years ago, when you're like, dude, you better put out, right? Because like, I'm like, shit, man, shit. And I want my guys to do that. I want the people that we coach to be able to do that, to where they get that feeling of, Marvin did so much for me. He's asking me questions. I get to give back to him in a sense. I want that success for my guys. I know that with the time frame I've been given and what we do here in Southwest Wisconsin, I hope that they make it to 8-figure companies, right? And then some. And I know that I'm probably not ever going to get there with Wiscoat, but the fact that I'm able to have a part in that, getting them from here to there and get that foundation put for them with what we do with coaching, I'm totally all in on that. I love it. I love what we do. We're inexpensive. We deliver great value. We can get you from point A to point B. And then hopefully from point B, you go ahead and get yourself to E, G, D, E, F, C, H, J, K, Z.
All the way to Z.
All the way to Z. But what does that look like on your end with TWT?
Well, that's cool, and I appreciate you asking that. But I love your perspective on that and helping explain that to the audience, because I think that's important. Because, you know, if you're so, for example, my coach, if you're not doing over $1 million, he don't even want to talk to you.
Correct.
You know, he can't help you really. He's like, it doesn't make sense for him to try and help you, right? You're doing over $1 million, and that's like barely scratching the surface. He's like, okay, I'll take you on as a client, right?
Right.
So he's trying to get people to hit, you know, 3, 5, 10 million. That's his goal, right? So for me, like, I remember helping a contractor. She's one of my coaches now. She's in my group as a TWT coach. When I first started coaching her, her and her husband were doing 250 grand a year, right? And that was 3 years ago, and now she's on point to hit 1.5 million this year. And she's on vacation right now for the 4th time this year with her and her boys. Like, she has more time, more money, more vacation, and so she's doing really, really well. So, but now she's one of the coaches in my group, which I think is really fun. But I think the point you made is really good there, because you might have someone who's doing 250 grand a year and they're like, I don't want to put my bags on. I want to do, but maybe they need to stay on their bags a little bit longer. They need to invest in themselves a little bit, get into the mastermind, pay for a coaching group, or get into the free group for a little bit until you can afford to get into that group, and then slowly climb that ladder. You just can't go from, you know, wearing your bags to like not wearing your bags and breaking $1 million. You got to put in the work.
Yeah. Well, what I tell the guys when they come, right, when somebody inquires about coaching or the success group or even consulting or that kind of stuff, is I've realized they've had to humble themselves some, because society forms you, right, to be like, I mean, everybody wants to be like, I'm the best at what they do. Like, you know, no matter what, even if you're not the best, they don't want to admit they're not the best. So you've had to humble yourself in some sense to reach out to a coach. Why not humble yourself all the way then? Why not just do it all the way? If you're going to do it a little bit, humble yourself 100%. Be open-minded. And if you have a coach that you know is more successful than you, that has great advice, you're there anyways to begin with. Why not take the advice of, all right, let me put my bags on then. I'll put my rubber boots on. I'll go back out, seal coat. Like, all right, we got a ways to go. I don't know if you've ever read The Highest Calling by Larry Janeski. You ever read that book?
I don't. I'll write it down.
Dude, yeah. All right, dude, I get to give back a little bit. That's my favorite thing, right? I'm doing a good job. In that book, I'll kind of just like paraphrase it real quick. It's a fictional book, but has a lot of life applicable nonfiction aspects to it. There's a gentleman who's very successful in business. He passes away. He can't go to heaven because he didn't do what he was supposed to do while he was here, which was teach what he knew to somebody else who needed the help, right? You already want to read the book, don't you? So what he does is he ends up helping this guy, coaching this guy, mentoring this guy. And, you know, once the guy realizes he knows what he's talking about, right? Once the student realizes the guy knows what he's talking about, he's like, yeah, but like, when do I make money? And he's like, years. It's going to be years. He's like, you're going to spend 10 years at least before you're able to take your kids to Disney World. And that was what the guy wanted to do. He wanted to take his kids on vacation, but he would sit down and do his vision board, take the progressions and the movements every day that it was going to take, that this coach laid out for him. And then at the end of the book, he's sitting on a bench. A guy comes up and goes, he's like, what is it? He's like, I don't think I can make my business work. That's what's going on today. And that guy looks over and he goes, I think I might have something to tell you. And that's how the book ends. But you gotta read it. Larry Janeski built a whole platform off of it. But one of my good friends, guess when I heard that book, when you and I first met in person in Miami at a conference, my friend Daniel told me about that book, and it was recommended to him by a mutual friend of ours, Stephen Brainey, who's in the industry as well. And I know for a fact Stephen Brainey knows his shit and is very good. He's a hard ass with a huge heart, which is the perfect combination. I want a monster that's kind, right? Like, that's what I want. And that book, literally, there's 2 books changed my life: The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho and that book. The Highest Calling by Larry Janeski. And dude, it's the perfect example, because there's so many parallels in that book with my life and what I've seen to be true from that book in everyday life. And it's that thing right there. Like, humble yourself, realize that you're gonna have to put, like you said, you're gonna have to put your bags on for a while yet, man. Like, I get it. It's shiny. Instagram shows you everybody's driving Lambos and they're in the Caribbean on a yacht, and it's because they're an entrepreneur. But dude, it doesn't just happen today. Like, it doesn't happen this year. Like, it happens a long time. Like, it took a long time, bro. Like, from when you first met me, it took a long time before I was able to even get to Miami to spend that time with you. Right? Like,
That was great. That was a great trip, man. That was awesome.
that was a fun trip.
It was so fun to see you too. Like I didn't know you were going to be there.
Right.
Right. You know, I saw you from across the room. I'm like, oh, someone's going to get a big hug in a minute. I let you talking to people and I just surprised you, man. It was fun.
Yeah. And you're like, what are you doing here? Like, it's a roofing, it was mainly a roofing conference. And I was like, dude, I could ask you the same thing. Literally, the only reason I was there is my friend Brian was speaking, and we just came there to support him. Like, that's it. Like, it's literally, I wanted nothing. I mean, granted, Miami's awesome, right? Like, it's not like it was an awful trip. It wasn't like we went to Fargo, right, in December. Right. So it's not like somebody had to twist my arm, right, to really get me there. But of course, my time, right. I mean, my time and my allocation of it and everything. But so many good things came from that trip, right? And it was just, it's too good. And for me, like, a lot of that came from that. And I think one of those things is you and I met there for the first time, and lately, because of the way the universe works, you start to intertwine a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more as time goes on. But yeah, I mean, that's the image, right? Like, it's not now. A good coach will tell you you're not going to get rich today or in a year, right? And you're not going to be able to take your bags off for a while. Like, a good coach will tell you that if you're going for a coach. I mean, you get to a certain level, like let's say we are 7 figures, Eric. We're deep into 7 figures, and we don't wear those bags anymore, but we want to get to 8 figures. You're still wearing a type of bags, and you're still gonna have to wear those bags to get from that point to that point, right, to the next.
The bags is proverbial, like either video camera or computer or whatever it is that you're doing. You're running something, you're gonna have to train and move up. So for sure,
if your goal is to go up, yeah, for sure, my guy. Yeah. So let's parlay a little bit, and let's talk about some of the advice you give, right, with TWT, because people love advice through this podcast. Or like Marvin always has like the guests out from left field, and then we'll go into right field again for 2 or 3 episodes. You know, we love the outside perspective of that, because it makes you feel like you're getting a piece of advice outside of the industry that's going to be a gem. But then you also realize we're all humans. Most service businesses kind of look the same, have the same background, same things. But for some people, just a refresher of some of that advice brings things full surface, full circle. But before if there's still stuff you want to touch on, I want to touch on that. But what about some advice in general?
So thanks again for asking that. So TWT is my coaching group. It's Train with Triplett.
Yep.
Okay, that's my TikTok handle, Train with Triplett. And so like what I specialize in our coaching group is teaching contractors how to talk to people, how to sell and communicate. That's really my main focus. Other things come out of it, some marketing things, and we all have that kind of stuff. And then how to be the best version of yourself, and books and all that stuff that we love. But I've been in business a long time, and I've sold a lot of stuff, but I've also lost a lot of sales because I didn't really communicate that well. I think I'm a pretty good communicator, but I didn't understand the psychology behind sales and why people buy and when to shut your mouth, right? As a contractor, plus I came in pre-internet, right? So I had to, they might not have known who I was and saw a truck. They couldn't do any searches on me. They couldn't get any social proofing. There was no reviews and ratings and all that stuff. But today we have social proofing, right? So I had to go through, and then now there's social proofing. They already know who I am. They already know what I was, Right. And so now I go in and go like, yeah, I won this award and we've been doing it this long. And they're like, we know, bro. But I think, I think a lot of contractors still they've been trained by the old guys like me that did not pivot, and they didn't know. So like in my group, we'll do role plays, like sales role plays, just like I think at the roofing conference, they did a couple role plays on stage.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll role play, and I'll teach people how to talk to people and when to be quiet and all that stuff. And, teach them to understand empathy, and teach them the art of silence, and teach them, how to ask no questions and those kind of things, specifically around contractors. I mean, like you could learn that stuff from Grant Cardone, but to apply it to construction is, I'm not saying Grant can't apply it to construction, but
Right.
like that's what I specialize in. And I've been in
Yeah.
the trenches, and I still am part of my sales team. I still make the sales calls and that kind of stuff. So I think, like I have contractors that I've been practicing with for 3 years. This is like a muscle, dude. Like if you don't train, go to the gym and work out, you lose the ability to do it. Especially with contractors who don't have they don't take a lot of sales calls. For me, I might make 10, 15, 20 sales calls a week. So I'm always working at it, right? I'm always practicing and executing this stuff. But someone might, get 20 sales calls in a month, right? Depending on where they're at in their business. And so it might take them a decade to get good at communicating with a client and understanding the psychology and stuff. So in my coaching group, we teach that right away, and it translates to big money quickly, I think. I'm not saying you're going to have a Lambo real fast, but you're going to start selling jobs quicker for more money, in a very short period of time.
Yeah. And to touch on that, I think what you do when you do that, which we do sales tactics, we don't do necessarily sales training and those types of things. Most of the time I bring people on like to the group, like they'll come talk to the group for that type of stuff. We really try to focus with what we do on making sure that their social media marketing and branding campaigns are attracting the audience that they want to attract. That way they can get the sales calls. Right. So we hyperlocate that quite a bit too. Now we will do how to close deals and that type of stuff, but for high level stuff like you do, most of the time we bring people into the group for a call that month so the guys can ask questions and do that type of stuff as well. But same thing, like I do the sales here still as well because I want to flex that muscle. Like I want to keep training with it. It's a necessity, I think, right? In order for you to make sure like you can still deliver and deliver well. I have a friend, a mutual friend of ours, who doesn't have to do the sales at his company anymore, but told me here, I don't know, probably a month ago, he did an 8-figure sale, like over a 3-year term. And he's like, dude, I was super hyped, like super excited. I'm like, dude, as you should be.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, he's like, but that was the first one I took forever. He's like, and I still got it. I'm like, yeah, man, you still got it. Like, yeah.
Well, there's an example of you still wearing the bags. I mean, the proverbial, the bag. So like you're wearing the sales calls, responsibilities and duties, and you still are training and you still are very efficient with what you do. That's the importance. And so you have to pass that off. And so, for me, I'm getting older in my career, and I love training and coaching, right? So I think I'll still want to stay tight and responsive to what I know and how I'm learning, so I can teach it to other people. So, that could be an excuse of why I still am in sales, but it also is part of my passion. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. It's fun. For me, it's fun. Like I don't want to stop doing what I think is fun. Right. So sometimes when we we'll do a sales call and I'll get in there, and if it's run of the mill stuff and I know we have the job, like, right, you can tell. Like if somebody calls for us, we still do smaller stuff. If we get there and I'm like, yeah, we're going to measure it up. And they're like, we know you're the ones to get, so-and-so recommended you. And they said you do a great job at a great value. I know all I got to do is give them a price and we're going to get the job. I don't really feel like, whatever, right? I can send whoever to do that type of stuff. But if we get a big call and they're like, yeah, we own this dog food facility over here, manufacturing, distribution, whatever. And I'm like, oh yeah, like this is one that's going to be fun, right? Like it makes me feel like I'm going on a hunt, right? And then they're like, yeah, we're shooting elk. I'm like, oh hell yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Like I can go shoot a squirrel in the backyard. That's easy. My scope's dead on, bro.
Right.
But that one I walk in and I really enjoy it when I'm able to be me I'm able to wear what I wear, and I sell the work, and they're like, all right, send the paperwork over. Dude, I get back in the truck and I'm like,
Yeah.
yes, right. And I'm like, for me, that's exciting. That's fun. That's the confidence builder. That's what gets me excited still. And that's why I still do it. I still do what I think is fun. And some days actually putting on my bags or my boots and going out and spraying the parking lots to feel like I'm still me is fun still too. So, I think you just got to find what you're good at and what you like and what makes it fun. You can make it fun. Like you can, just depends on your approach with it.
Just put on some Kendrick Lamar.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So before we get to, I'm going to have you do pod deck today too.
Okay.
Before we get there, anything else you want to touch on?
No, I think I got all the stuff off my chest that we didn't get to. Like we were on a podcast for an hour just a couple days ago, right? And like
Yeah.
I feel like I got a lot of the stuff out that I wanted to talk to you about, but it wasn't necessarily appropriate on that podcast. But
Yeah.
that's what I love about it.
Yeah, we do whatever we want to over here, man. Like we're the asphalt industry, so the guys are. We're sending stupid shit to each other on our phones. We're cussing up and down this way and that way. And
Plus, I'd love to have another opportunity in the future if you get some feedback of like they would like to know more about certain things. I mean, I don't want to go, oh God, that pond guy again. I don't want to listen to that podcast. That was boring. I'd rather keep it fresh and like if there you can have me on in the future.
Yeah, well, what I'd like to do is have you on to the Blacktop Banter Success Group so we can talk about a little bit your approach to sales and that type of stuff. And then some events and stuff coming up. I'm sure we could make things work to where we could have you out. That'd be a blast too. So,
yeah, that'd be amazing. I love it.
And it's crazy, dude. Full circle opportunities around both sides, both in niche and both making it happen. I love it. All right, we're gonna go to the pod deck, and then I'm gonna have you spit out your socials, so have that in the back of your brain.
Okay.
And then here we go. All right, I'm just gonna cut the deck because it's the easiest way, and then I'll show it to the camera.
You better not pull that hot dog question, bro. I don't want to hear that.
I'm gonna try not to. This is kind of crazy, but all right. It says if you had someone following you all around the world all the time, what would you have them do?
They would be running a video camera, bro.
I knew that's what was going to say. I knew that was.
Are you kidding me? That's exactly it. And I think about that a lot. I think I have a pretty good eye for the camera. And I love that you talked about that guy in France, dude. What a great opportunity, man. What a great opportunity to connect with that guy. But sometimes I feel like what I'm going to do is boring today. I might be just drawing for a while. But like I take a couple phone calls and I'll be talking shit to someone while I'm doing a drawing. Maybe that makes sense, But yeah.
Yeah, dude. That's why, like, I don't think I've told you this story, but I've told a lot of people it now. Wise, who's on my team now as my videographer, him and I have become really good friends. We gel really well. He's from Fiji. He grew up there and had an opportunity to come to America and has been here for 6 years and has never went back to Fiji yet. We're trying to get him there. So hopefully we have some more success here at Blacktop Banter. We're going to go back, and I'm going back with him. Nice. He's not going to Fiji and I'm not going. So, that was what happened was, I'll tell this story real quick and then we'll jump to your socials. Eli has been wrestling forever and did really well last year, was top 16 in the state. He got approached by a coach. Hey, we want to coach him. Okay. So we go over there. I follow their Facebook page. I see them do a montage, right? A badass edited montage of the wrestling for Top Dog Wrestling. And I know this kid. I know the coach. I know where they live. They're 2 towns over. They're as rural as I am. There's not a videographer going to do that, right? So I go over there and I'm like, where'd you get this video made? Like, you put this on Fiverr? What'd you do? No, my friend Wise did it. I'm like, all right, like, where is he? He's like, I don't know, like 4 blocks away. I'm like,
that guy needs to be my friend now.
I'm like, he's here? They're like, yeah, he's here. I'm like, I need his number, like, now.
Yeah.
Like, give me his number. I text him. I'm like, this is who I am. This is what I do. Would you be interested? He's like, yeah, sure. So he gets here. I show him everything I'm doing, what I want, the type of stuff I want to do. We still buffer that out a little bit. Like we still do this a little bit over some things, right? Because he's I always make fun of him. I'll tell him I'm an island boy because he's from Fiji. So he makes videos, music videos for Fijian music videos. He also does film work now for the Australian Football League for soccer and whatnot. But he wants to sometimes make my videos like the island music videos and stuff. I'm like, don't do that shit. He's like, what is very popular? I'm like, yeah, in Fiji. Like it's in Fiji. Like we're trying to be popular for the world, not Fiji. But
Yeah.
dude, that was such a blessing. Like to have him here, him come with me tell him where we are, what we can offer, and what we can do. He's not here for the money. I can promise you that much. But he's here for the opportunity and what we believe in and what we're doing here, and wants to be part of building that going forward. He follows me everywhere, dude. When we go places, not like my day-to-day life, like he won't be here today, but whenever I know we're going to be somewhere having a conversation about blacktop or asphalt or whatever, some of the best, funniest moments we had are him and I, right? Like my phone dying in Pittsburgh, we were on this a lift that went up the hillside and went back down, and I had to get us an Uber to get back across the river, and my phone was dead. So we were like, dude, how are we going to do this? So he was filming me going around begging people for a charger and then trying to find a port like to plug it into in the middle of the street and stuff. But like that stuff makes good content. And so I totally gel with that. Like, dude, if I could have somebody like on my shoulder all the time with a video camera all the time creating this content, that's what I would do too.
Yeah, I think that's a message to me because I've been playing around with that for too long, and I think I need to make a move on that. So maybe that's a challenge to myself at the end of this podcast to get more serious about that.
Yeah, I mean, for what we do with Wise, you know, he's here now. He's in house here now, which I'm grateful for. But just starting out, I would be like, dude, I'll pay you by the day. I can't like pay you like extremely well, but if you're not doing shit that day, it's you get to do what you love. And he loves doing videography and filming stuff, so it worked out really well. And you know, it allows him to have a repertoire where he didn't have one before that he's able to show the world too. So he enjoys that part of it as well. But all right, let's talk about your socials and where people can find you. You did mention your TikTok handle.
Yeah, so great. So most everywhere you're going to find me as the Pond Digger, at the Pond Digger, from Twitter to Facebook, all that stuff, right? But for my coaching group, it's Train with Triplett on TikTok, and then you know our website's TWT Contractor Coaching. So that's our specialty right there. So, and you could I probably the Instagram DM is probably the best way to get a hold of me right now at the Pond Digger. Like I've checked that a lot. I'm communicating with a lot of people there.
Yeah, and then like people can find you on Facebook and stuff too.
Yeah,
absolutely. Sure. Cool. All righty, my friend. I have a feeling this is just the beginning.
Yeah, my dude.
It's the rebirthing, the re-beginning more than like as we move into a new office and we start a new relationship here going forward and stuff. I'm super excited for it, man.
Isn't it funny how you said this is a full circle podcast for us, right? We came back, and you know my coaching groups are called the Contractor Circle.
Yeah.
You know, the free one that I have on Facebook is TWT Contractor Circle, and my more advanced mastermind on Facebook is the Power Circle, Contractor Power Circle.
Yeah. So and I've dipped in there. I've dipped into the free one here and there, and there's great pieces in there, great conversations and stuff in there. And let's be honest,
bro, you have access to the paid one. You haven't pushed in there enough. I want to work with you on it. I know I still got some game that I can help you with some stuff, bro.
I guarantee there is. I mean, I guarantee there is. If you need a testimonial, I got a good one for you, man. I mean, to be honest, I say that from the bottom of my heart, dude. I would not be where I am at this pace with where I am without you. So I really
it's in my notes right here. And I want everyone else to know, like, I took notes while we're on this podcast. Like, it's here for me to share with the universe what I'm doing and how I can help and reconnect with my good buddy, right? But I took notes because you know what I'm doing right now? I'm fucking working to be the best version of myself every second of the day. And I hope that everyone listening is doing the same. I appreciate your time today, bro. Thank you so much for having me.
Dude, no worries. All right, from myself and my good friend Eric Triplett, the Pond Digger, this has been episode 88 of Blacktop Banter. And even though we did talk ponds today, we also speak asphalt. And that's what we do here at Blacktop Banter. We speak asphalt. All right, till next time. We'll catch y'all later. Peace.